All right, Senator Joe Manchin, just reelected in West Virginia, joining what seems to be a growing list of Democrats warning of a, quote, constitutional crisis if President Trump's firing of Attorney General Jeff Sessions interferes with the Russia investigation. We talk about that now with John Malcolm from the Heritage Foundation, where he's senior legal fellow and also a former Justice Department assistant attorney general in the criminal division. Thank you, sir, for coming on. We appreciate it. And where do you stand on this debate or discussion about whether we're approaching what's being described as a constitutional crisis? Is that a legit worry?
I really don't think so. I think it's at the very least premature and probably somewhat far-fetched. I mean, so, rumor has it that Bob Mueller is wrapping up his investigation, that he's preparing a report for transmission either to Congress or to the Department of Justice. And I don't see any reason why Matthew Whitaker, who's the acting Attorney General, would try to interfere with that, or any credible allegation that he would interfere with that. Early on, before he went back to the Department of Justice as Jeff Sessions' chief of staff, he made some comments about how he thought that Bob Mueller, if he went too far afield in terms of investigating the president's personal finances, might be straying beyond his mandate. But there's no reason to believe that Bob Mueller is going to be in any way, shape, or form impeded from finishing up the work that he's been doing.
So you don't think that history
Matthew Whitaker or anyone else
of Whitaker, you don't think that is enough to raise concerns? What about the idea of legislation, maybe just to make sure? That's what Senator Flake and Senator Coons have said this afternoon. They plan to introduce legislation on the Mueller probe that would protect it.
Well, they can try to do that. The president would surely veto it, would be my guess, and it would take quite a bit to override a veto. I mean, we did away in this country with the independent counsel law because it had become extremely unpopular for good and sufficient reasons. Ken Starr, the last independent counsel, in fact, testified against reauthorizing the act. If Congress wants to go down the road of reenacting the independent counsel statute, they can embark down that road, but they may live to regret that.
All right. Let me ask you, though, in the time we have left, about what's next. There's already been some criticism. Our own Judge Napolitano, among others, Kellyanne Conway's husband, who's not exactly, in case people don't follow that, a big fan of the president, in an op-ed in the New York Times today, of Whitaker's appointment and whether that's constitutional. He's the acting AG. At some point, obviously, the president will appoint someone he wants to take that job on a permanent basis. Right. I know you have some ideas. Many others do as well. You've mentioned a couple of current cabinet secretaries who both happen to be named Alex Acosta and Alex Azar. I think that's just coincidental. Who else and why would they be good choices?
Well, there are a lot of names that you're hearing floating around. Senator Lindsey Graham, a couple of congressmen, John Ratcliffe from Texas, outgoing Congressman Trey Gowdy. A few interesting names are floating to the surface. Janice Rogers Brown, recently retired judge from the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Edith Jones of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Michael Ludig, who was a Department of Justice veteran, a former Fourth Circuit judge. These are all very able and distinguished men and women who could serve with distinction at the Department of Justice if the president nominated them.
A lot of it comes down to confirmation or the prospect of being confirmed?
Yes, no, look, I think that's right, but the Senate is controlled at the moment by Republicans. They've just increased their majority by how much we don't know. There has to be an attorney general, so somebody is going to ultimately get confirmed, and these are certainly all well-qualified people.
All right, and you don't think the president will be picking from that type of a list rather than going down the road of a Chris Christie, say, for example, his name was floated out there?
You never know. I've heard Chris Christie's name. You've heard Rudy Giuliani. Wow. I'm sure the president has somebody or some small group of people in mind, because after all, he called for Jeff Sessions to resign, and he called for it now.
That was telegraphed more than I don't even know just about anything else. John, thanks. It's good to see you today. John Malcolm, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.